You're so tall that I have to shift this. There we go. Namaste, everyone, and welcome back home to the Trannabis Kitchen. As you can see, I'm not alone for the first time in the Trannabis Kitchen. I'm super excited that we have special guest Julian Michael here, who we're going to have introduce his own self in a few moments. But I'm super excited for this episode. It is season 2. It is episode 8. That, if you put it sideways, is infinity, and that is the amount of love that I have for this human being who has really made LA feel like home. Honestly, you really have. And it's meant a lot to me to have our bond, and I'm so happy that we're here, and we're gonna play with some balls. We're gonna make... Oh, I thought if I could make him laugh one time tonight, I did my job.
Well, your job is done. It's already over, and there goes my first joke. I don't even have anything left.
Oh, please. You have every joke. Every joke. But these are going to be protein oat balls that are infused with, of course, our fave sponsor, right? Fruit Slābs. Shout out to Fruit Slābs for bringing the fam together, because we are going to be working with a lot of different flavors in here. We're making 3 fancy, bougie protein balls that are going to be cranberry lemon. There's going to be a banana grape walnut brulee. There's going to be the cayenne caramel apple, where we're going to make our own caramel. It's going to be next level. You have never had a protein ball like this, I assure you. And they are gluten-free, they are vegetarian, they are dairy-free, of course. And what else are they? Yeah, they're just ultimately a really healthy way to have a really great snack. So for those who don't know, Fruit Slābs, this is what they look like when they're cut up. They are an organic, kosher certified, no artificial sugars, anything added, fruit leather. So they're literally fruit and cannabis, that's it. We're putting 2 milligrams in a ball because I've proven to myself that I have zero self-control when it comes to these, and I can eat 20 of them in less than 12 hours. So if you want to function, you may or may not want to put that many in there. Also, there's only so much surface area that you ultimately have. So before we dive in, I don't know if you've seen this. Yes, you have. You're already ready. You're in prayer stance.
I got I'm ready.
We are going to send our love and literally Reiki to the cannabis and to the food. Call it a prayer, call it connection, whatever you want to call it. We are sending energy and gratitude, and this is going to make this that much more intimate and potent and enjoyable. And you're welcome to do this with your cannabis that you have right now, especially if you are a Reiki practitioner. So I usually like to I hope I don't forget where these flavors are. But I like to kind of hold them. Sending so much love and gratitude to Fruit Slābs, to every single being, every single animal, and Gaia herself, for any involvement in the creation of all that is, and whatever the universe did to put me and Julian together is the best. And I'm looking forward to bringing love and joy and wellness to every single being who eats these, as I imagine Jonathan also will, and that we will have the best time. And I'm going to send some actual Reiki to everything that is here. Namaste. Thank you, everyone, for sharing that moment. I think it's important. You know, I didn't have a religious upbringing by any stretch. I don't look at that as religious. I just look at it as my way of connecting to what is.
It's so funny because I actually grew up super religious. So that kind of like harkens back in some sense to a tradition, but I think it's just good to give thanks in general. I mean, obviously for your food, but really for everything. I think if you can find a reason to stop and say thank you, it makes life a lot better.
I totally agree. I think gratitude is what helps us get through, especially, the times that we're all going through. So, with that said...
This kitchen smells so good.
I'm so glad, because we haven't even done anything yet.
It's very distracted.
That's totally fine. So what we've got going on here is we've stationed up for our 3 flavors. We are going to make 2 at a time and then slam in the last one. Our last one's going to be the cayenne caramel apple because we need to make that caramel and pour it basically immediately.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's going to harden. So we are starting with our prep. Was me preparing all of the dehydrated fruits that are here, as well as the lightly candied nuts. So we have the banana here, and I bruleed it. Literally I got high, took my dab torch, I torched while I was medicated, and then I put them in the dehydrator. It worked out so well. They taste like banana foster. Did you like it?
Yeah,
Pass the
great.
test?
Yeah, you passed the test.
Good. And then we have our cayenne apple, and so then I put all these in the blender. We have our lightly candied walnuts. I didn't forget about you, Facebook, and everyone else that's over here. We have our dried cranberries, the only thing that I did not do, because I just couldn't get fresh cranberries. And then we have the candied lemon, which is both the lemon rind and the lemon itself, which is probably how you tasted that big punch there. And so we start at the basics. So first of all, which one do you want to make? What we're set up for right now is either the banana grape walnut brulee or the cranberry lemon.
Let's go cranberry.
Okay, we're doing both, but it's just a matter of what you're doing
Well,
with your
I
body.
have the red knife.
Oh, okay.
So
All right.
let's go cranberry.
I like it. So we're going with the mango Maui Wowie, and this has some coconut on it. No, you need that.
I need that.
This is, I'm actually going to take these out of our way briefly, because the last thing that's going to happen is going to be the slicing. And that is because we are essentially cheating by doing like a cold rolled oat situation,
Okay.
like an overnight, but we are not letting it be overnight, and we don't need to for what our purposes are. So I will be starting with the banana brulee. We have our bowls. This is what our oats look like. They are gluten-free. I like to use the classic old-fashioned oats. Oh, Michael, it's so good to see you, my friend. Love you so much. So then we have some of our oat milk, and we're going to be putting just enough to basically cover. So we're talking like half a cup, something like that.
I love when chefs use precise measurements like just enough. Make sure you pour just enough at home.
I will explain it. The intuitive nature of it is we're mixing this up, and all we want to do is make sure that this is all wet. And in doing so, when we leave it all here, it's going to actually continue to soak this up. This makes the balls stay moist. It makes the actual forming of the balls much easier.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely something that we want to do. And then once you basically cover it up, it's like you're packing it down as if you were like to make a pie crust or something into the bottom of the bowl. And I'll show all of you at home what that looks like. Welcome 420 Fairgram. Send some on my way. I'd love that actually. That's something it's on my mind. These are so good that it's on my mind, and I look forward to literally. I'm gonna make that be that uncomfortable person who is like staring at you so closely, watching you eat your first bite to like see how you feel about it. So this is how we're packing it down, and then we're just gonna start pouring on our ingredients.
How's that look?
It looks amazing. So while I did much better at putting the right amount of milk in there, but that'll be fine. So while we are tossing things in, can you please let everyone know
Yes.
who you are
am
and
I?
about you? Because I imagine that people would like to know, and I would like you to tell them regardless.
Who the hell is this guy? This really, really tall dude in the kitchen. So my name is Julian Michael. We already went over that. I am a stand-up comedian. I'm a writer. A bunch of things. I thought at one point I was going to be a Southern Baptist minister. We were talking earlier about my religious upbringing. Like I was deep in it. And then I realized I was much more gay than Christian. And so instead of praying the gay away, I sort of gave the pray away. And went the other direction, came out, started just really living, I think, a much truer version of myself, you know, and found the calling for stand-up comedy and just performing in general. And that's been my passion, my sort of life's call ever since. And we met while I was co-hosting a radio show with a very, very strange individual who, one of the best things that I think happened in my relationship with him is meeting you, actually. While we were working on an event, I think, and we got like super high in the back of a seminar, a weed talk, a TEDx weed style talk.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
Yep, I just realized you were standing next to me, and I just like felt immediately interested to talk to you, and I was like, smoking a blunt, I think you were smoking a bowl, and I'm pretty sure I said, would you like some of this blunt? And you said, would you like some of this bowl?
That sounds
and
right.
that was it.
Yeah.
That was absolutely it. I didn't realize you were already working on a radio show at that point. Or were you just forming the idea?
Yeah, no. I think, when did I meet you? Was that 2019?
Oh no, this was much earlier. We've known each other longer than that.
Oh my god.
I got here in 2017, so it was probably 2018.
Okay.
Maybe even a little bit earlier.
So I think it had to be 2018, because I think that's when I met my co-host.
I don't know if he was there. I didn't meet, at least I didn't meet him there.
I can't imagine I would have had the gumption to go to something like that without him.
I don't know, you seem very confident.
Yeah,
Not cocky, but confident.
No, I seemed that way. I was also high as balls.
I think everybody was high as balls.
That makes it easy. That makes it a lot easier. So am I supposed to be...
Not yet.
Okay.
No, you're leaving this flat.
Leaving it flat.
Yep, because what we're doing is we're allowing for that all to like marinate in there. And now we are scooping about 3/4 of a cup of this almond butter, cinnamon almond butter. There's more, do not worry.
3/4 of a cup.
Yes. So, kind of like this. Just until it feels good for you, basically. That's in cooking. A lot of the fear that we have in cooking, you know, it's like we don't have that fear with cannabis the same way all the time. Like, we're just like, okay, we've had cannabis before. It's like, well, you've eaten before. And I know you can cook.
No, that's true. So, I think for me, and this is one of the reasons I'm glad that we're doing this, I'm really comfortable in the kitchen generally, but baking has not been my forte, precisely because I feel like it requires a lot more precision. So like if I'm making a soup or, whatever, I feel like I have a much better sense of like, oh, this feels like the right amount of what I'm doing than I do. I'm just like gooping stuff in here now.
You're doing really well. Your cranberries and your lemon.
Okay. So
Except for the big chunks.
Let's do that.
You don't want to.
So yeah, baking has always felt more, all of it?
Yep.
Has always felt more scientific to me. And cooking, if I can make that distinction, has always felt more artistic, which resonates. So I like hearing just like, put as much as you feel.
It's right. I mean, like, for example, how do you know when you go to see, you know, cannabis, especially, for example, if we're talking about Legacy Market, right? How did you choose what it was that you wanted? What was the first thing that you did?
You look at it.
Right. And then when you decide that it looks pretty, then what happens?
And you sniff it.
Right. So it's and from that smell and from looking at it, you then say, this is good for me, probably, right? And then maybe after that, you look into the other things about it. Now, of course, it's changed now with having dispensaries and things where we have more.
And you turned me on to Flower Company, which I love. I don't know if they're sponsored, but that's a free plug if not.
No, it's totally fine. They've sponsored me.
That's
okay.
Shout out to Flower Company. And so on there, I really am going based on like, what's the highest THC percentage for my money? Like I shop like a coupon lady for weed. I know, like, it can't be just like skunk, you know what I mean? But like, do I really need 30% right now? Like, I don't know that I do. I don't know that my day needs to go that way. So I think about those things, but you're right. Like before, back in the day, it really is just like intuition.
Exactly.
A lot more.
Exactly. And when you are eating, do you eat based on, and you're like serving yourself, do you not put on your plate what you feel you're going to eat?
I guess so, yeah.
Right, so like these are things we do automatically.
Yeah.
And when you put them together, you get intuitive cooking, and you just add in meditation and awareness and trust and play. That's all that's ultimately really needed in order to, so these are super sticky. In order to actually proceed forward. And so this is part of the aim of the game. Like, I want to end the stigma of cannabis, but I also want to end the fear of cooking, because it's fun and it's a lifestyle. And a lot of people are interested in edibles and can't afford it or are terrified to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a way. I mean, this wasn't complicated, right? This wasn't.
No, this is easy.
I mean, the fact that I dehydrated, like, we went the extra mile because you said you wanted to do bougie ones, so we did. But like, which I.
To be fair, in our prep conversation, I was asked, and I chose specifically bougie flavors. This was a part of the calculus for me even coming over here. Was that something was bruleed.
And I delivered.
Yeah, you delivered. So it doesn't have to be all that. Like,
Welcome,
this could be something that could be done, I imagine, with any number of fruits and vegetables, vegetables, goddamn, but fruits at the grocery store or farmer's market for sure.
100%. And you could also make it easy on yourself and get dehydrated fruits. You don't need to necessarily, drive yourself to that degree. I will say, do you feel like I feel like it tastes different, right? Like having that, like it's better, right?
Well, but it's also not hard if you have an air fryer to dry out some fruit.
So now we're slicing. So these are it's gonna be fine. One is 2 milligrams. So we're literally now the only thing that matters now is that they're right here. I set you up.
What's interesting is that I was doing a whole lot of talking about being left-handed, and I'm realizing in this moment that I actually cut with my right hand.
Oh, you're ambidextrous.
Yeah, I eat with my left hand, but I cut with my right hand because cutting feels like a sport to me, and I play sports with the right hand.
Oh, I have so many questions.
But I write left with my left.
I mean,
I also taught myself how to pee. I potty trained myself, so there's that too.
Did you really?
Yeah. Well, I was. Yeah. That's a.
I mean, I know
that's
you
a
were
story
smart.
for a different day.
I would love that story on another day. Instead, I would love to talk about your Prime special.
Oh yes, yes. So I have a special on Amazon Prime called Insert Token. It's also on SiriusXM, so you might randomly hear it as you're driving down the road.
That's awesome. Keep them in piles, though.
In piles.
Yeah, of 5. So like when you, not 5 of them, but like each strip. You mix them.
What? I'm so confused.
So there should be like 7 pieces
Per strip.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
There you go. Yeah. Yep.
I see what you're
Exactly.
saying.
Exactly. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I also didn't want to like.
Well, because I would have like a lot of. And I have to say, like, my tolerance is super high for edibles. So, like, that wouldn't necessarily be the worst for me, but we don't want to model that behavior for.
Well, it's also a flavor thing, right? So it's fun and dandy to have a high potency if you need it, but you have to factor in the flavor.
Mm-hmm.
The more that you use, the more you might have a distillate taste. The more that you could take away from other flavors. I like to use fruit slabs and cannabis in general to add. It adds such a depth, and there's so many different possibilities. Like if I was really spoiled and I really wanted to go there, which one day I hope to be, is that I will actually be like, I want a strain, or rather cultivar that smells like like a lemon skunk, but also has a kind of this blueberry thing, and I want to use that to make a blueberry pie, or something like that, or lemon meringue, yeah, for sure. Something on that level. I feel like you majorly underplay how amazing your special is.
Well, okay, so here's a thank you. It's it's one of those things at the time that I recorded it, like I literally went into it like, if I died tomorrow, this is the legacy that I want to leave. So I think that it's a very good snapshot of who I was at a certain point in time. And I think that you can really see a point of view that just is grossly underrepresented in media. And, you know, like LBGTQIA plus, I'm sure I'm missing letters at this point. I feel like our stories are becoming a little bit more mainstream, and that's a very, very positive thing. But even among minority stories, I feel like my perspective is still highly unique. So I'm very proud of it. It's hilarious. Like it's hilarious, and you know, it's one of those things where I feel like I've grown so much as a human being, as a performer since I recorded it, that I'm excited for the work that I'm creating, and for what that will eventually manifest into.
Spot.
Yep.
Yeah, we can always do more. I love that. I love that for you, and I'm just, like, it's exciting and to have that awareness. I'm sure as you know, of your craft, and that must be very exciting because I know how much you put your effort in. What would you describe as your process, and does cannabis factor in? Because I feel like when I ask comedians how they feel about cannabis, like 99% of the time, they say, "I need this to write," or something.
So I don't feel like I need anything for anything except what am I doing now?
You're playing with it.
I'm playing with it. I get to play with balls. I don't feel like I need anything for anything except what's going on between my ears. But I love cannabis. Let's not kid ourselves. and I think it definitely can loosen inhibitions in a healthier way than other sort of uninhibitors, if you know what I mean. And I think it can sometimes allow you to make connections that you might not otherwise, or just take risks that are just so dumb that they work, that you might not in a different mindset. So in that respect, I think it's helpful. I think I'm a very, just generally speaking, observant person. I don't think I'm very different on stage than in real life, with the exception of on stage I'm just way more just amped. But I think the dry sense of humor, the cynical optimism, the just empathy laced with snark, I think is very just who I am as a person and how I like to connect with other people. So that's what my style is. I used to talk about the shit that happens to me, you know, my changing relationship with my family, my husband, my jobs that I've had that I don't want, my dog, etc. You know, I try not to talk too much about things I feel like everyone can talk about. Although I don't pretend to be like that unique, but like, you know what I mean? I feel like there's certain things that are just in the zeitgeist, just like pop culture stuff, that is probably not what you're going to get from me. Like hot takes on whatever celebrity's in trouble right now. That's just like not my thing. But I think I'm very much sort of on the pulse of kind of humanity, if I can say that and not sound like a complete douchebag.
You do not sound like a douchebag, and I couldn't have described you any better, which makes sense because you're young. But also, in addition to that, I believe that that's all very much true, and that's definitely how I perceive you. And as someone who has experienced you live, I would absolutely say, you know, Yes, I think that I definitely believe there are a lot of people that are so different in their professional life from the rest of their life. But I feel like you have an understanding of it's all life, and that you unapologetically get up there and crush it with very intelligent. Wow, I'm high. Very intelligent, very intelligent wit and writing. When the pandemic happened, though, of course, you had a lot of shifts, right? You had certain things canceled, and then you took a pivot first came Black on Black, right? The podcast.
Yeah, so I did a podcast for a while that I think is going to be more of a special feature called Black on Black, just as they were, just killing us in the streets,
Take a small chunk. Smash it into one of your piles, and then kind of roll it around until you feel like it's all up in there.
Got it.
And then see those plates? Those are clean for us, so we'll actually know what flavor is what, because otherwise this is going to be an interesting experiment. Although that might be a fun experiment. You were saying.
But yeah, no, when George Floyd got murdered and Ahmaud Arbery got murdered and they were calling the cops on bird watchers in New York, just doing all kinds of stuff. I started a podcast just talking to some of the black people in my life, just really trying to give other people a platform to tell their story, and just asked everyone the same set of questions, and just let them talk. And it's a good experience, I think, just to listen to people, sort of agendaless, who knows where it's going to go. There's no right or wrong answers. What was interesting is that one of the questions that I asked my guests is, what does America mean to you? And almost to a person, there was this same just like pause, then this like exacerbated kind of laugh. That's not really a laugh. It's more just like, fuck, That's very interesting. It's very interesting. So, Black on Black was one of the ways I kept myself occupied. Been doing a lot of writing. I'm working on a book. I probably shouldn't even mention that because it's not done. And I started co-producing a comedy show with a very good friend of mine, Tuesday Thomas, whom you know, who is really sort of stepping into her own right now as just being Tranma. She's branded herself, which is really cool. So we run a variety show called Freak Show, which is a comedy, drag, burlesque, clusterfuck of entertainment that also supports various charitable causes, most of them LGBT or BIPOC forward. So that's what I've been working on, and just like really, really refining my brand, my comedy, just trying to be better than I was, not be too impressed with my own height. But I think the pandemic really gave me a lot of time to just hit reset in a lot of ways. To pause when I needed to pause, when the whole world was pausing, so it wasn't like I was losing too much momentum. And I think in that time, it's really sort of shown me that I want to tackle some of my goals differently than I was before. And so I'm just living in that and just kind of enjoying where that's taking me. A big part of that is meditation, is just like focusing on my own mental health so that I can be better for other people, and just kind of going from there. So that's what I've been up to. I don't even know if that was your question. I smoked a lot of weed before we started.
We did. What did I ask you? You did answer it. My question was, this is clearly the difference. When I have someone here do the show with me, I obviously medicate a lot more before the show. Usually I don't, so that I'm like more coherent. But we're doing pretty well. My question for you was, I was leading in, segue into, you know, the pandemic and how you pivoted, and I asked you about, well, sort of, and inadvertently asked you about Black on Black, and to have you bring that up, and then you started to explain all the other ways that you've pivoted and what it's meant for you, as well as meditating and just really coming into your mental health. And so, how has cannabis played a part in all of that? Like, what would you say your cannabis story is?
So I don't know that specifically cannabis has played a part in my meditation journey. I will say that January the 2nd, 2021, I started doing a daily morning meditation challenge and just stuck with it, and I've been doing it every day since. So we're over almost 14 months now coming up. Yeah, I think I'm getting to the point where it's like just being able to appreciate like what the plant can do and like how it can work as a part of self-care. Honestly, the biggest like sort of cannabis journey for me isn't even for me personally. It's been like for my mom, who's like, started to appreciate the value of CBD and other stuff and helping with her own medical challenges, where she was like fairly closed off to that before. So I think just like helping facilitate that transition for her, for my in-laws to a lesser extent. I'm very grateful for that. But I think I've been privileged to have, you know, people like you, people like our friend Brianna Key, etc., who have just like a different level of respect for the herb. So that it's always been like infused in that. But I wouldn't say that I've actively incorporated it into any of my new routines in that way.
That's fair. That's fair. Do you remember what your first experience was having cannabis?
Yeah. It was junior year in college. I was 20 years old. It was in, I think, my friend Rob's dorm room. I was with my a cappella group.
I love everything about where the story is going right now.
There was a boy in my a cappella group who I had a crush on, and we would talk over AOL Instant Messenger. And one of the things that we learned about each other was that neither one of us had ever gotten high. And we played this game of, I'll do it if you do it. I'll do it if you do it.
Oh my god.
For so long until it actually happened. And then my a cappella buddies facilitated us getting high on some super skunky, just New England trash. It might have been oregano, I don't even know.
Did you get high the first time?
I believe that I did, but also if I didn't, I'm also the kind of person who would have said that I did. So, like, if we're just being honest.
It's fair. That's a long time ago. I feel confident that you would confidently be like, yeah, I need more, if it was like today's world. You know,
It's just also like, how do you know if you don't know? I do have a very vivid memory of one of my earliest times. One of my other a cappella friends and I sneaking into the lecture hall in a science building, because I worked in the library there, after hours, and watching Family Guy on the giant projector screen and being high as bananas. And it was the episode where Brian Griffin's mom is dead and she's been like taxidermied into a lamp or something. And I could not handle it. I was not prepared for that. I think to this day that's still like the worst freak out I've had about just like seeing something while high was because of Brian Griffin's friggin' stuffed mom.
What was happening for you in that moment?
It was all so much. Weed was all so new, and it just like
we've been there.
This is too much. This is too much. Yeah.
We've all had our freak out. I've definitely had my fair share of freak out moments. How would you describe your food journey? What was food like for you growing up? Were you picky? Like, I was ridiculously picky. Like, I basically ate 3 things until I was 10.
So I grew up super poor. So our food was not very adventurous. Like, we were cut a hot dog and ramen type people. And I had some pretty gnarly stomach issues for a very long time. So there were certain foods like most dairy and stuff like that when I was just like, this is a non-starter after a while. So a lot of it was just like trying to figure that out. And then get to college and eat literally everything, being a freshman and 15. I mean, someone else is paying for it. Then learning to cook for yourself. Very slowly coming out of just like simple, easy, like bachelor dude habits, you know? I will say that I was privileged in that most of the jobs I had in my 20s, I had like a per diem on my travel, and I traveled pretty often. Wow. So I actually did get to eat at some pretty nice places with someone else's money, which is usually how I experiment with things when someone else is paying for it.
Makes total sense to me.
So that definitely sharpened my palate, and gave me some things to think about. And then now, just sort of as a grown man, he'll be turning 39 next month. I really enjoy cooking. I enjoy experimenting with things. I enjoy when people ask me for my recipes. And yeah, I mean, there's still some foods that I'm just like, no, I'm not about this life. Like, you won't get me to eat mayonnaise for anything.
Can we high five on that? You are the first person who aligns with me. Can you explain to me what you don't like about it? I don't like anything about it. I respect all of you. This is not a shaming.
Should we start with everything? No, it's just like, it just feels like eating just a mouthful of just like, that's what it tastes and sounds like to me. And then just like, why am I having just like smushed eggs? That's not a sauce to me. I'm just not into it. I'm not into it. It's just, it doesn't. And the thing is, like, I'm perfectly aware of what an aioli is. And if you call it an aioli and add some other shit to it, like, I can be convinced. I can absolutely be convinced. But if you're just like, there's mayonnaise on this burger, I'll send it back. The only time I will act an ass at a restaurant is if I said no mayonnaise. There's mayonnaise on my fucking sandwich. And then I promise you I'm calling the manager. Like, I'm pulling all
the stops.
All the cards.
I respect that so much. Also because you should have what you ask for at a restaurant. But also, yeah, I can't stand it. And I want to, like, briefly, without totally making you sick, describe what something I had to do in my chef training when I was young, which is my first pro cooking gig was when I was 14, and I was working at what may still be open in New York, called Standing Room Only, and I was, basically I had to get like a special license to work there because you're a young kid working with knives, and I was like, I've been going to culinary programs for several years, younger than this. You're not going to tell me that I like can't, work with this. So ultimately, that was like, to give a timeline, that was when like the South Beach diet was the shit and everyone was obsessed. So I was responsible for making South Beach quiches, and I was responsible for making the mayonnaise that was needed for something else. I'm talking like whatever the height is from up to your like waist is the level of bucket that I had to like fill and also cut in mirepoix. It was unfreaking believable.
Gross.
I mean, that's how I remember it, and that was just really terrible.
There was a time early in my relationship with my husband where we were both auditioning for a game show.
Wait,
what? It was an MTV show. It was a really, really bad idea. And it was called Silent Library. It's based on some Japanese concept.
Yeah.
And so one of the things they had to do was like get people to like eat stupid stuff and then try not to laugh about it.
Mm-hmm.
And
How'd that go?
Jonathan, knowing how I feel, had me eat just like spoonfuls of mayonnaise. First I had to eat like anchovies. And then just like mayonnaise, just like take it straight to the head. And it was just, oh. And
Did
I
you win?
still married that fool. We didn't even make the show. I did that and no one even paid me.
You really love him.
I friggin' must.
I mean, Jonathan, if you ever watch this, we love you. Oh my god. What do you feel like in terms of all of your jokes? What is like people just like lose it? Like that's their favorite joke and they have to like tell you how much they love it. Where you feel like that is the joke that gets laughed at the most. And does that correlate to the joke that you're most proud of?
What is the joke? You know, it's that's a hard question. Because I think all my jokes are hilarious.
They are.
But no, so there's a couple. I think the token brand really resonates with people. So the joke that I started my album off with is that I'm the guy that people call when they want their group to appear diverse but remain non-threatening, and then just kind of like go into what that is. And like, there are a lot of tokens in this world. A lot of people feel like they're the other in their group, whether or not that's racial or based on gender identity or sexual orientation or whatever it is. There are a lot of people who are just like, shit, like I'm around a whole lot of people who are not like me. And so I have to hear about a lot of people's fucking stories after the shows about how they're the one who, whatever, and like just the shitty things that people do to them as a token. So I get a lot of that. I do a joke about a Catholic wedding that I ruined just by like not being Catholic enough. And
I'm like, I don't even know if I've heard that joke and I'm already laughing.
And like, inevitably there are Catholics after each show who come up to me and they're just like, yeah, like I know your situation and it is brutal. So yeah. I appreciate that.
So there's a sense of camaraderie, so to speak. What would you say is the writing you're most proud of?
I'm most proud of my poetry, honestly. Like I've been pretty obsessed with incorporating spoken word poetry into my routines and not having that necessarily have to be funny, but being, you know, I think anytime you like inject a moment in a comedy show that is serious or specifically not funny, it has to be frigging amazing to catch people's attention. So I'm always proud when I can like take people on an emotional journey in that way. And I love doing that through poetry. I really like changing levels with people. You know, a lot of people are, yes.
No, you're. I'm not interrupting you. I was thinking. Sorry. I'm gesturing.
A lot of people, I think their instinct is to be loud when they want to be heard. And my instinct is to get quiet. And to really make people make a choice to pay attention or to slow down the pace instead of accelerating. So I'm really proud of like jokes that pay off when I'm able to subvert people's expectations for what's coming.
That makes sense. Yeah, which in itself is very intelligent. Do you feel like a lot of more comics are starting to think about their comedy in that way? Like when I think of like, you know, the show Nanette, like, you know, and things like that, I think of really intelligent comedy that I personally place you at that bar of just like, they have really thought through everything and they have something very powerful to share and they're doing it in a way that has like not been done and touches me.
Yeah, so I'll say that Nanette was game changing for a lot of reasons. I think that the way that Hannah Gadsby handled that whole process in making that was pretty extraordinary. And I think a lot of the things that I think about now are to some degree, at least, influenced by Nanette. So I respect it a lot. But I'll also say that, like, I don't think you can be a really good comedian, much less a great comedian, if you haven't gone from point A to point Z in an interesting way before the crowd even gets there. Like, Dave Chappelle is a lot of things, but one thing that he definitely is a mastermind at going from one place to another. And, you know, Jerry Seinfeld is another one. Even a weirdo like Jim Gaffigan, who like talks about absolutely nothing, but like it's so. Each joke is just like stretched for as much material. It's mined for as much gold as possible. That's very intentional. And I think you have to really like do that work with whatever your perspective is to capture people.
It's effective. It's very, very effective. Do you have a desire, a plan for your next special? The shows coming up. Do you have any?
So we've got shows coming up for a Freak Show. We're doing a monthly. Although our next one is at Levity Live in Oxnard in March, and then we're back in LA in April. For my next special, honestly, like it's gonna be something different. I do know that. I think it's probably gonna be more along the lines of a one-man show than stand-up comedy. I feel like I'm kind of evolving out of being able to call myself a comedian. We've had this conversation a little bit before. Obviously, stand-up comedy is a love of mine, but I feel like for the way I want to talk to people, it requires more than the club setting. So that's a lot of what like the writing that I'm doing now is about. Just like creating that platform, using humor as a foundational block, and using my strength as a comedian to help people digest things I think that are sometimes hard to digest if they're not made funny. So that's kind of what I'm working on now. But there will be new material. There is new material, and I can't imagine I'll ever give the world just like straight hour of comedy. This doesn't interest me. I think it's great. Don't get me wrong. But it doesn't quite work for me.
I love that. I love that you are on this like transformational journey. That was like it sounds like what I would refer to as like a death and rebirth through COVID. You know, which is something I've been hearing from basically everyone, especially people who've had COVID. Like I know for me, it was a total death and rebirth. And so, you know, being able to bring all of your strengths as opposed to only some of them to a stage, I think is awesome for the audience and of course for you as well. To be able to feel like you can be the fullness of yourself because you're so multi-talented, multifaceted.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. I think it has to, like, it's got to be interesting for me, first of all, you know, to even want to, like, produce it. But also, I just like, I think the world has enough comedians. I don't even think that I'm necessary is probably too strong a word, but like, if I only tell people jokes, I think that I'm wasting a lot of what I have to tell people. So that weighs heavily on me when I contemplate whatever I'm contemplating.
Wow. So what about of your poems recently? What is the favorite?
Well, it is Black History Month, so there's a Black History Month piece that I've been working on. I should probably post at some point. What am I doing now?
We're turning this on to like put it to medium low for now. We're gonna start our caramel situation. I didn't want to interrupt the flow of what you were saying,
No,
so I
you're
was
good.
hoping to just gesture and
You're
get
good.
what I wanted.
I mean, my current favorite, I wrote a poem about Julian Michaels, you know, the exercise bike lady, because she's messing my game up. She every time I try to Google myself, Google says, "Did you mean her?" It's funny. Their names are too similar, so it's been really, really fun. Just like ending shows, especially shouting out / shitting on Julian Michaels, and just kind of having that moment. So that's probably my current favorite.
It's a good one. I've heard it several times, and it never ceases to make me laugh. Because I feel also your deep passion about it. You are passionately frustrated with this thing, and it's like, and the funny thing is that I can get that because, like, for example, Jamie is like spelled different ways. So like I was just in a program with like other Jamies who spell it a totally different way. And it's like, you know, it's frustrating to have that, especially if you are in entertainment and you need people to see you on Google.
Yeah, there's even a singer out there, Julian Michaels.
There is a singer.
Yeah, I really should have just changed my name from the get-go and gone by my middle name, but it's too late now.
Blame all the parents that named them. That's at the end of the day. We had some left. What happened? Oh, because you made big balls.
I made big balls.
That's okay. You want to eat this?
Probably, yeah. Fruit Slābs.
Okay, so we are going to lower that now that it's simmering.
That's so good.
I was trying not to do that. I should have, in theory, had you do this. Taller, longer arm guy. But I didn't.
That is delicious.
The fruit slabs,
The fruit
yeah.
slabs.
Mm-hmm. They're ridiculous in here. We are stirring.
So I'm going to use my left hand to stir.
And our goal is to reduce this down. We may have to put more honey. We're going to put more honey. Which is not a big deal. Let's see if there are any questions. There's only one of you. Aww. Thanks, Brandy. My friend Brandy says, there's only one of you, so what you bring to the table is totally different than Jerry Seinfeld or anyone else.
Amen to that. Thank you, Brandy.
I agree. I definitely agree. I mean,
I think what I mean when I say, like, I feel less necessary as a comedian is that there are so many avenues for people now of all backgrounds to express themselves. And I feel like there's no longer a dearth of like, gay black voices in that space. But there are in other spaces, and I think that there's always a need for humor in the motivational space and in just the public conversation in general. I feel uniquely equipped to add that.
I can get that. I mean, people, like, I can imagine that anybody who would identify you as interested in comedy would be very inspired. Do you get young entertainers saying, you know, Julian, you really inspired me? From like how bold and intentional your comedy is?
I don't really talk to too many young entertainers, to be honest. I mean, so it's always fun, like after shows, talking to fans who can identify. I love how you said you're going to add a little bit more honey. And
yeah, well, this is an intuitive situation. As you can see, that's very liquidy, and we have like 4 minutes, so we definitely need this to ramp up.
Intuitive cooking at its finest. Yeah, no, just when people can like identify with something that I've talked about, that's always super inspiring. And you feel like you're not just like in this human experience alone, you know? It's relatable. So that's awesome.
I would imagine that would be very meaningful. What do you feel like within your lived experience, being Black, being gay, being someone who had a very religious upbringing, all these things, how do you feel like that impacts you in terms of your experience in entertainment, right? Because like I know what I see and what I hear and what you've shared with me, but we're talking to an audience that may not.
I mean, I'm so used to being an other that like that's perfectly comfortable for me now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what's true in entertainment especially is that being an other is what makes you special. And that everyone, no matter what they look like, is in a race to try to find their sort of distinguishing other. So, okay.
Yeah, we wanted to not... That's why the stirring's... the stirring's important. See, it's a learning experience.
Okay.
It's all good.
I got distracted by my own rhetoric.
No, your rhetoric's more important than the spillage of this.
This is also how I make oatmeal, too.
By spilling it over.
With a sponge.
Yeah, it'll settle down.
What was I even talking about?
I'd asked you based on why is this?
Just like well, now that we've caramelized the stove, I'm so used to being an other that like it's second nature. I'm comfortable being an other in front of strangers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when I just like walk in my own skin on stage, that gives me a lot of power. So like, honestly, I think it's hard to be a straight white dude right now in life if you're trying to have someone care about the uniqueness of your perspective, because we're not doing that anymore. It's overdone. So I think that's a real advantage. I'm grateful for it. And I'm also grateful that like I'm comfortable in my own skin. You know, even more to the point, I think that's what makes it work. It's not just like, oh hey, look at me, I'm different, but like I could not give any cares at all if you judge me based on how I live, because I live how I want to live.
Mm-hmm. Unapologetically.
Yeah.
As it should be.
This burnt caramel smells so good.
It's not actually burnt. If you don't catch it right when it starts to overboil, that's why I'm not even doing anything about it, because like it's basically this is just what it's going to be. But the point that matters is that when this cools, it's going to be thicker. I legitimately don't understand why it's still pissed off and boiling over. It's at the lowest possible temperature. Yeah, I from a very different standpoint, obviously, can resonate with that, getting comfortable and just, it's like, when you feel different lifelong, it's, it is what it is. But I feel like, that's part of what is so powerful and important about your writing and about your presence. I would really like you to bring Black on Black back. Like, I found it to be very powerful And as someone who will never understand what that is like, it was very useful to get perspectives that I would, it's always one thing to research, right? Like, it's like, for example, when people ask me about trans stuff, usually I'm really respectful and responsive because there are certain things I will say you can Google, but you can't Google someone's experience. You can't hear from them. And I think that a lot of people don't want to, like, they're afraid to ask, or they don't want to place any sort of exhaustion or emotional labor on another person. And you doing that created what I imagine what may have been cathartic for both you and the person you're interviewing, but also just giving so much awareness to people who are either not comfortable having conversations or just aren't bold enough to have them.
Fair. No, I really enjoy having those conversations and just like getting to hear different people's stories and seeing how they came to occupy their own space in the world. I do think it's necessary. Sometimes I struggle just because like I feel like I carry so many identities. I feel like singling one out in a certain way is limiting, especially when I'm already doing so much creatively. And that's kind of where I struggled with it, through no fault of its own. But I do think the idea has legs.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, like, I could see NPR picking that up, or something like powerful, where that could really be seen by people who are ready to sit down and shut up and listen.
Yeah. Well,
respectfully.
As soon as I get a little more famous, it'll be easy to sell a whole bunch of stuff.
What does fame mean for you? Do you want fame?
Do I want fame? Do I want to have to wear a disguise to go to McDonald's? No. No. Do I want to feel like my clout and my bank account match the image of my worth in my head? 1,000%.
That makes a lot of sense.
Like I know how much I've been paid to do jobs that I don't love, but I'm good at. I feel like I should be paid considerably more for stuff that I am invested in, and that is ultimately more meaningful.
And what would that look like? Like, if someone was watching this right now who somehow had a lot of clout and whatever, what would you want them to know? What is your deep desire of what that looks like?
I think what it really is just being a reminder that our sort of status quo, our default, whatever we want to call it, is a facade. And that if we actually open ourselves up to something other than the default, we can find a lot of beauty, of fulfillment, of joy. So in a nutshell, like I just want to be a living example that the things that we're taught about capitalism, Western culture, whatever sort of the things we're supposed to subscribe to, that we need to actually question a lot of them. And I think I wear those in my body, and I speak that. So I think that's what I want to just like continue subverting our idea of what it means to be American, human, Western, etc. And at the same time, I want to help people sort of treat each other better. I've been really big into this idea of the platinum rule. I think we talked about this before. This idea of instead of do unto others as you would have done unto yourself, do unto others as they would have done unto themselves. Right? Just taking it that one step further. I think it speaks to basically all of our issues. If you can consider the world from someone else's perspective and say, like, before I think about how this makes me feel, how would that make them feel, and just start there. And like, we don't need to have a conversation about pronouns anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We don't need to have a conversation on a lot of things anymore. So just like really, however I can help influence that energy and put smiles on faces and also put money in my pocket while I do it.
I resonate so much with that I literally led a clubhouse room on this discussion last night. Unfortunately, it didn't end up ending the way that I would like, and it actually didn't have to do necessarily with the topic as to why, but before that all went down and there was a meltdown in the room, everyone was being super respectful, and we actually had a really big conversation on just that. What it would look like to, in the understanding of being a spiritual being, to being energy, to believing in a soul, and then you are living in a gendered society, in a body that is gendered, and how to transform that. Because I've been thinking about this exact thought a lot, and I'm very exhausted at this point. Like, I don't even want to think about it anymore. I just want us to all acknowledge that we are all, you know, multifaceted, whether you choose to believe we're all one or not. I'm tired. I imagine that you are also tired from your lived experiences.
Yeah, it's. I just don't understand. I mean, I do understand, but I don't understand why some of these things that we let matter. Like, your gender doesn't affect me in the least, so therefore, it doesn't affect me in the least, right? Like, I actually can hold space and say, okay, that's not my experience, and that's okay. That's your experience. And just completely move on with my day and not have to feel like, well, one of our experiences has to be the experience. This isn't Highlander. This is Earth. This is like one simulation, you know?
Yeah.
And so just like really not giving a fuck about what other people do. Like, what you shit does not make me eat. Or let me say that what you eat does not make me shit. That's really what it is, you know? So like, why do I care? If your beliefs don't coalesce with mine, that's perfectly fine. We don't have to believe the same thing, and we can still just like live, and that's okay. And we can even make laws based on what works best for both of us if we don't all get what we want. That's actually also okay too. So.
More for you to eat.
Fruit Slābs.
You've done very well. We're essentially ready in this brigade here. It didn't get as thick as I of course wanted it, but this is actually, that looks way better than I thought. Actually, that's I'm quite satisfied with that. I thought it was going to be thicker, and I'm not thrilled that I have to clean that up later. But I also have done that exact same thing and have zero judgment. I distracted you heavily. So now, we are just going to drizzle this on.
Okay.
And it's going to just be a little party. And what I'm hoping is that the coldness, that word? It's going to be a word now. The colder aspect of the balls themselves, would like it to stick. How do you feel like these have come out? Have they met the visual expectations?
Yeah, no, I'm the only expectation that matters to me is when they're ready to eat.
They are ready to eat. We should do that. We should definitely do that. Would you like to hit the bong first?
Let's do it. What would have happened if you'd have added some cornstarch to...
Sorry, I'm laughing. Brandy said, I love me some caramelized stove. Yes, sorry, what were you going to say?
This is a stove for you, Brandy. What would have happened if you'd have added some cornstarch to it?
It would have been something, that it definitely would have gotten thicker. Ultimately, I've never had to add it. It's just a matter of, basically what you need is a lot of patience and a lot of time to do a caramel that is not the traditional caramel, because the traditional caramel can be very processed or especially sugary or have dairy. Did I not give you a lighter?
Let there be light.
Did you brought that here?
I did, but I didn't bring the lighter because
Oh, found it. What's it saying? Oh, the caramel, yes. So ultimately, you would just be simmering it for a lot longer, and my stove wouldn't be like, I don't know, maybe it was my Reiki, it just like set it off. The lowest heat possible. It's just like, totally overwhelmed it.
Too much sauce.
But there's always a fix. This is what I want people to understand, is that like, it's legitimately not a big deal. Because guess what? Even if you have a restaurant, no one's going to see that, except for people that are in the back. They don't care, like you just said. You said, I care when it's time to eat them. So it's just like, why do we stress out about these little things? Like, yeah, it's like, it's not really fun to clean a caramel. Like, once that settles, that's going to suck. But like, in a few minutes, I'm going to take a rag to it, and it'll be fine. But it's like, it's just not the end of the world. And you can always add, but you can't take away very easily. So it's like, I can always add more honey, but yes, absolutely cornstarch in the way that you would do a typical sauce of some kind. You could absolutely, add some cornstarch. I do tend to take the more natural route, which is why I just do honey and a little bit of oat milk.
Got it.
The truth is that I put too much milk in there, so that's that, and the fact that I left it to the last 10 minutes was where that's how that malfunction happened. I need my thingy. Which one are you gonna try first?
I mean, we've been talking about this caramel drizzle, so I feel like we have to go here.
We could. However, if we do start with that, it's not going to be set.
Okay.
I could toss it in the fridge for a quick second, while we try the other ones.
Do you have like some kind of like cold Reiki juju that you could do?
I could actually, but it's just way easier to put it in the fridge. Sorry, Courtney. Accidentally kicked my cat.
One of those cats.
How's Mr. Dodger doing?
Dodger's great. Dodger's great, my little puppy dog.
Shall we?
Let's do it.
So this is with the mango Maui Wowie, and this is the cranberry lemon.
Yes.
All right. Cheers.
Bon appetit. I feel like I had this as a kid.
They're very nostalgic, right?
This is like one of those little like Hostess mini muffin balls.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. There were back when we were like in childhood. There are like a few things I wouldn't have done to get that. Yeah,
That's good.
it's really good, right? And they're filling. You see how they're already which makes it very productive. And basically, each round of these had 24 grams of protein, broken up into 18, 20 balls, I don't know. But then also on top of that, add the nutrients from the other ingredients we put in. And you're talking about something that, depending on which flavor and recipe you do, I have many more of these. Some of them are much more like, I put in a lot of seeds, right? Yeah. So like chia seeds and things like that add a lot of the nutrients we need. But it's pretty solid.
Sweet.
Shall we?
Yeah.
These are a
little wetter.
Yes, but they're like the labor of love that I've been spending weeks trying to get this. Does it taste like Banana Foster? I mean, it's got the almond butter in it. I think it does. Does it for you? This is a banana, grape, walnut brulee.
That's very good. I'm getting the walnut is what's giving me this like hearty banana bread. Like it's like Nice thick slice. It's just like warm and delicious. That's very good. That's very good.
I like that one. I'm most proud of that. I definitely spent the most effort mastering bananas.
That's very, very good.
All right, let's take our. Kimmy says, "Yum." Yes, they are yummy. Yep. See, that's already starting to set. Uh-oh. I didn't really think that through. Yeah, we're a little sticky now. Some honey with your bong.
Sweet THC.
Shall we?
Let's do it. Oh my god. That apple. Mm-hmm.
That's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's so good. It's sexual. Like I feel literally. Don't you feel? Now I see why you're laughing because I didn't even mean it that way. I mean, I did, but not from that lens. It's really funny now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is the most I've ever made you laugh. I'm really proud of myself right now.
It's not fair, I got balls in my mouth. I'm distracted. That's delicious. That's delicious.
Time for more. Which one's your favorite of the three? These had the tropical haze, right?
I think my favorite.
Ooh, and that cayenne comes out like right last minute.
I think my favorite are the banana. But I'm not sure if that's true.
We might have to try them again then.
Oh, I'm going back in. I just need to.
Let's give them up close and personal. So these are the banana grape walnut brulee. Yeah, Vanna White. Here's the Vanna White. Or was it this one? Yeah. Have welcome. Do they still make her do that? I hope that she got paid a ridiculous amount of money for that.
I mean, there's no reason for Vanna White to have a job. The letters could turn themselves at this point. It's 2022. So, she's on an unemployment plan right now.
They were definitely attempting to hit a demographic and doing
Mm-hmm.
These are with the mango Maui Wowies. These are the cranberry lemon. Do you feel like I forgot to chop remember how I said to you we're going to chop the cranberries and we didn't? Do you feel like if they were chopped up, it would make it even more enjoyable?
I think maybe if I had rolled them tighter, that might also help. If I hadn't touched them, that might have.
No, I think it's great. No, I'm not. That was not me like attempting to give a backhanded complaint or anything at all. I just realized when I bit into it, I was like, oh, whoops, forgot to cut them. So these are the cayenne. Kimmy's laughing with us. Tighter balls! Exclamation point. These are the cayenne caramel apple. And
those are so freaking good.
I was worried that they wouldn't have enough of a kick, and then I was worried it would have too much. I almost took out more cayenne for us to use, but the way that I did it was I actually cayenne dusted the apples before I put them in the dehydrator, and so it baked into it.
I think we could have also put cayenne in a ball.
Like straight up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was thinking about it, but I felt like I didn't know.
I personally believe in spice. Like, spice.
Where's my This is like a total shit show in here right now. Can you tell? I like really, oh my god, Martha would be furious with me if she saw this. Where did I?
Well,
Oh, here it
she
is.
doesn't have to see it. Yeah, I'm into it.
Do not, on yours. Or on some of them. You're gonna be taking on. You're gonna kill me. I know exactly how that's gonna go.
I'm into it.
Okay, so you just put like a little sprinkle. That wasn't like.
I mean, well, because it's not like incorporated. I don't want to just like.
Yeah, but I want
But like I believe in Scovilles. Like I get up there. I get up there.
I'm a win when it comes to it all. How's that?
Zesty. It's zesty.
Mm.
It was good though. Yeah, I think if you like folded it in.
Yeah, like I could definitely add a little bit more of a kick. I could also have been more generous with the apple slices, because what I like about that is it becomes this like vehicle that is like spread throughout. And because I put it in the blender, it hits so much more surface area, which I found is key. When you just do a fruit in there kind of whole, then you only have it some of the way. But when you blend it up and then you fold it in, it gets so much more surface area. That's how you get a stronger flavor of whatever flavor you want to be done with.
Got it.
You know, that's really cool. See, this is actually the thickness.
We did it.
Yes, he did put more cayenne on. We did it. Five hours later. We started a few minutes late though, so we didn't like too much extend the show. But I'm definitely drizzling. Oh yeah, this is like that's how I want it to look. Like I wanted it to be like on that. Should we put just like a little more?
That cayenne kick at the end is just a nice little warm.
Mm-hmm. Before we wrap up, you have the black made shirt on, which I believe was absolutely intentional for you. Can you let people know how you came to the term Black Native and where they can buy the shirts so that they can support you?
So, I mean, people are probably smart enough to figure out that Blackcinated is black and vaccinated. It's a portmanteau. And we've been going through a lot in the endless year that has been 2020, whatever version of it we're in now. And I just felt like for black people especially, we're really in sort of dual pandemics, right? There's this crisis of race in America at the same time as there's this health crisis. And so I wanted to create something that people could feel positive about wearing and sort of show that they're above other people being able to inject them with their poison. And so that's what the Blackcinated shirt is about. That's kind of what my whole brand and mission is about, really. It's just sort of infusing those kinds of positive messages. So, yeah, you can get it on my website, what was that? DoubleMinorityReport.com. What I meant to say is Instagram's easier, but they're both available. Taken by Token on Instagram. My link tree is up there for all of relevant links to my site, my merch, upcoming shows, random projects that I'm putting out in the world, all kinds of stuff.
And I'll be putting it out there for all of you to make sure that you're clicking on. They're still talking about the cayenne. My tongue and palate is conflicted about the cayenne and sweet flavors together, but I try it. It does work.
Heat is the best. Chocolate, especially like chocolate and heat. But anytime you can add that sweet and heat and play with it, you just elevate both of them so much.
1000%. Yeah. And Brandy says it's not bad as long as you don't overdo the cayenne.
No such thing, Brandy.
You don't want to play that game. You don't want to play that game. That could be a viral video. All right. Well, this has been a blast. Did you have fun?
I had a lot of fun. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. I look forward to doing, hopefully more episodes in the future together, because you and I can talk for hours, and there's so much value that you bring, and I want the audience to be receiving it. Is there anything more that you wish for them to know today?
What else I want them to know? Nothing about me. Just enjoy your life. Keep the main thing, and yeah, all that good stuff. Positive vibrations. Beautiful. Sweet.
Thank you everyone for watching. Sending you so much love. Yes, you should watch absolutely Julian Michaels' special on Prime. It's absolutely incredible. You can get the link from going to the Linktree. We're going to be posting that again so that you also do that. You can go to Taken by Token on the gram and get that link right there. Love you so much. Kimmy says love both your vibes and energy. And that she's going to watch your show.
I appreciate that, Kimmy. Thank you so much.
And we will see you all next week. I'm not going to announce who's coming because, frankly, to be honest, I'm not entirely sure. But know that next week I'm going to be making a really big announcement of some massive change that's happening for the Trannabis Kitchen, which, because I'm not going to torture Julian, I'm going to tell him after we end the show.
Please do.
But the rest of you...
You have to wait.
You have to wait. You have to wait. And I love you. I love you. I love you. Love yourselves. Love your medicine. Love it all. And we'll see you next week. Namaste, everyone.